Alright, I just found this little fellow outside lying on the ground, and I thought might as well make the first video on the wildlife thing that I had promised. So this fellow is a fruit bat, I think. I'm not... well, it is a fruit bat, I think. So let me explain to you this way. There are two kinds of bats that are found in India. I mean, there are two kinds of bats that are found throughout the world. So you have the Microchiroptera and the Megachiroptera. The Megachiroptera, or the Megabats, also called fruit bats, also called flying foxes, are called thus because they superficially resemble like a fox. So you can see the snout it has. So you can see the snout it has. It resembles quite a bit like a fox. You know, it's protruding forward, whereas a I'm sorry about my dogs. Whereas a Microchiroptera or a microbat, the smaller ones that you generally see around lights, flying around lights in the evening near parks and gardens, yes, those are predominantly insectivorous and quite often naked as well. They often have a snout that is squished. Their faces resembled like deformed goblins. The microbat, I mean, they're still cute nonetheless, but this one is closer to, I guess, what you would call conventionally cute, at least. So there are two types of bats that I was talking about, the Microchiroptera and the Megachiroptera. Now, this is definitely, I think, a flying fox, a Megachiroptera. And I don't know how it came over here because I don't have any megabats near my house, so I'm not really sure how it came over here. But it's here now. So that's that. Now, all bats are mammals, which I hope that you all know. Almost all bats are, not almost, all bats are mammals. And they're mammals because they feed milk to their children. They've got mammary glands. And fruit bats quite often are quite furry as well, so that's another superficial similarity that they have with the rest of the mammalian kingdom. Other than that, there are quite a few misconceptions about bats in India, especially the fact that bats are going to suck your blood. Well, there are no bats found in India that are going to suck your blood. There is no bat at all. I mean, there are times when they are flying around at night, and there are times they might get stuck to your clothes if they have a problem navigating. But they're never going to suck your blood. They cannot suck your blood because there are no Indian bats that are blood suckers. The only blood drinking bats that you find are in New Zealand and Central America. Now, this little fellow can do nothing to you, but its claws can be quite sharp. So that's the reason I'm holding it with a cloth. Now, there's another misconception about bats, and that's true for both bats, the megabats and the microbats. None are entirely blind. They can see in varying degrees. Some can see 40% during the day, some can see 30% during the day. So there are varying degrees that they can see in, and they've got relatively good eyesight. But they're more suited for the nocturnal they're more suited for the nocturnal time. They're more suited for the dark. Now, I don't know what I'll do with this fellow. I will release it sooner than later. Maybe give it to Wildlife SOS or someone. I'll feed it milk for a day from a small dripper, of course. So let's go through the things that I told you about bats today. So there are two kinds of bats found throughout the world, megabats and microbats. We generally differentiate them by their size. Well, one of the things that makes them different is their size. So megabats generally are bigger and microbats generally are smaller. That's not true for all the species, but as a rule of thumb, yes. They're both mammals. All bats are in the mammal family. Megabats generally feed on fruits, and yeah, fruits, berries, and things like that. Whereas microbats are predominantly insectivorous. Microbats are the ones that you see near your houses at night. Quite often, microbats are naked, and quite often they have a very squished goblin-like face. Megabats, on the other hand, like this one that I have in my hand right now, are predominantly they look a lot like a dog or a fox. They've got that snout like a canine, and they are very social creatures. They live in big colonies. Sometimes these colonies can be as much as 4,000, 6,000, 10,000 bats together, and generally these colonies live near fruiting trees, so near trees of jamun or similar trees, trees that have a lot of berries and stuff like that. So yeah, they're very, very caring parents. I'm not really sure how this one is near my house. Now their wings are made up of membranes, so I don't want to bother it much, but if you can see, those are long fingers, and so like my hand, so between each finger is a thin layer of skin. And that is true for all bats, not just mega or microchiropteras. All bats have the same morphological similarity in this aspect. That's how they gain flight. They're excellent flyers, by the way. Alright, so there are quite a few things about bats that you should know. One of them is how they're useful to us. Now, bat saliva is used in a lot of experimental advancements in terms of cancer treatments. Also, their droppings are one of the richest sources of nitrogen and are very, very good for creating high quality manure, high quality fertilizer. Bats are also very good for the environment because they eat a lot of insects, the smaller ones at least, eat a lot of insects, and they help maintain the biodiversity of an area by keeping in check of the insect population. So yeah, all right, so that's what I wanted to tell you about bats today, and I hope to upload similar content soon.